Crack on. My name's Paul Greenhouse. I'm from a company called nFocus Testing. I'm a principal consultant. Can I ask how many testers we've got in the room? Not many. Well, I hope you enjoy what I'm going to talk about testing anyway. So, I know you've seen a lot of slides today, but I've got two. That's one of them. A lot of the stuff I'm going to do is hands-on. I'm going to actually get into VSTS and show you some stuff about testing. So I'll crack on. So, here's VSTS. And here I'm in the testing tab, and I've got my sprint, my test plan, and a number of test suites. So these are requirement-based suites. So each one of these represents a PBI that's on my backlog. And in 3 of these suites, I've got a test. So I just want to show you some of the stuff, the other suite you can have. You can have a static-based suite, which is where you just create a normal suite and you pull tests in. And then you've got a query-based suite where you can pull testing based on a query. So I can have a query that's based on tags that are on my tests, and if I define that query with tags, those relevant tags, it will pull the tests into that suite. So that's another one.
Paul, can I just stop you for 2 seconds? They think that you haven't got your mic turned on. Can you just check for me? Sorry.
Well, got it on.
Got it on.
Hello, hello. Hear me?
Sorry.
Sorry. So carry on. Wait.
Can we just wait a second, just because we're videoing it, that's all, sorry.
All right.
They're just, the voice isn't going through to the actual recording at the back.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. So, I've got my test suites, I've got my tests. So I'm just going to show you how you would run a manual test. So I'm going to go through the mechanism of showing how to run a manual test. So I right-click on the test and I click Run Test. Yeah. So we get this test runner come up, and it's got all the steps that are required for the test I want to run. So I'm going to bring up the application under test, which is this funky nFocus uni website. And I would then go through and click pass to say whether that relevant steps passed or not. So I'm going to go through this. So it says select the login link. I'm not going to go through it all. That's a pass. And then I would go through this and pass all the relevant steps. At any point where the step doesn't match what's happening in the application under test, I could click that. And then I could put a comment in to say, this is not working. And I could then create a bug. And what will happen is, I'll just expand that. What will happen is it will create a bug work item, and it will record all the steps I got to with where the failure is, so that the developer, when I raise the bug, can see the steps that I've done, and he can replicate that. So I would just put a title in to say, fix this bug, and I'd save and close it. So, and then that test would be flagged as a failed. So if I then go to the home screen and go to dashboards, I've got a couple of funky charts here where these are the amount of tests I've got. So I've got 3 tests. one's passed, one's failed, and I haven't run one, and then the amount of bugs I've raised in this sprint. So that's that. Let's go back into test. Right, that's manual testing. I want to now show you a little plugin that we've started using at nFocus to do with exploratory testing. Does anybody know what exploratory testing is? It's basically testing where you don't know really what you're doing. There's no test plan. You just want to, have an explore on the application. So you're just going to mess around. You're going to click links here and there, and then you just have what I call a quick shufter. So there's this little plugin for Chrome, and this little it's also available for Firefox, and I think it's coming to IE. So it's called Test and Feedback. So what you do is you click the link, the icon there, and then you can connect it to your Visual Studio project and your team collection. So what you can do then is you can click this little play button, and it will start your exploratory testing session. And then what I can do is I can take a screenshot here of saying, and add some comments in. Mr. Developer, what is this? And then I can say, well, why is that there? And why is that there? And save that. And that gets recorded as part of the exploratory testing session. I can then, as well, create a test case. So if I think that what I'm about to do, I want to record as a test case, I can click that. And then put a title in. And then when I interact with the application, what should happen in the background is it should start recording what I'm doing here. So I can go search, no, let's put a search for Carson, search, and all the time this little, everything I'm doing is being recorded. So then what I can do is I can save it. Okay, that didn't quite work. That should. What should happen is it creates the test case and it's in TFS. So, yeah. I can also record a video. So here I've got 10 minutes of recording, and I can record what I'm doing, and then I can add it to a work item the same. So yeah. So I think the title of the presentation is called Efficient and Effective Testing. So that's all very well, me testing things manually, but it's not quick enough. You've got your sprints, which are 2, 3, 4 weeks, and most of the time within that time scale, you're going to release an increment of software. So the amount of pressure under testers to test everything, because a lot of the time what I see when I go out to clients is that the ratio of testers to developers, there's a lot more developers, so developers actually have to do testing, which they don't really want to do. So there's an immense pressure on the tester to actually to get everything done. And testing, as I think, is a dark art. There's a definite mindset about being a tester. And a tester's far better at testing something than a developer is. So the way we get quicker, way we test quicker, is we automate. So we at nFocus, we use this automation framework called Odin-Axe. It sits on all the the main automation tools are on the market, so Codage UI, Selenium, QTP, Rational Functional Tester, sits on top of those. So when you create a project, you define the tool that you're going to put Odinax on top of. And it's Excel based, and it turns a tester who's not technical into a technical tester because of the way it works. So I'm going to go through a couple of the things that are in Axe to turn things into automated tests. So the first thing we've got is an object map. So the object map's a bit like a page model. So it's basically objects on each page within our application. So if I bring up the home page, bring up the application, click on home, you'll see in the background these are all the elements that are on that page. So we've got the main page itself, we've got what kind of class it is, and we've got the property to find that. So that's the title. We then got the links that are across the top of the page. If I show you the application again, links across the top of the page, what kind of class they are, and how to find those on the page. So here we've got the XPaths. So once you've mapped a page with the object map, you then create what's called a subtest. So the subtest is how the test that's going to be performed on that page. So if I go back to the object map, I've got all the objects on that page are now in my subtest here across the top. So I've got the blue column is the window itself, and then I've got all the links going across. And then within here, I've got my tests that I'm going to perform on that page. So you'll see that there's words in some of the columns like set, and then we've got hashes. So out the box, Axe has 5 default actions: set, get, val, save, and load. So what set does, set either clicks on a button or sets focus to the window or puts something into a field. Get grabs something off the screen. Val does a validate. Save will save something that you've grabbed off the screen and saves it away to a local variable. And load will load that local variable after you've saved it. So it's basically keyword-driven automation. So what we do in our tests is we put these keywords in. So it's very, very easy for somebody non-technical to learn those keywords and create an automation script. So once they've created the object map, they've created the subtests, they've populated their subtest with what they want that particular action to do. So if I show you select the subjects link, it's obvious what it does, but I'm going to go through what the action does. Let me just turn that little wizard off. So the set is just going to do a set focus to the screen, to the page. The hash means nothing, it means ignore. So it's not going to do anything in nFocus University, it's not going to do anything in home, nothing in about. On students, it's going to click the link. So that's what that test does. So here I've developed a lot of tests for that page, like select the register link, login link, etc., etc. And then what I do then is there is a test spreadsheet, which is kind of like a driver script. And what I do is I string these subtests together to create a journey. So if we look at the top test, The base state is defined as restart home, so I've given home, the value home, the URL to the application under test. What the restart means is that if the application under test is already there, it will close it down and restart it. And then I've got my subtests going from left to right. So the first test is validate an existing user can register. So what I basically do here is I click the register link and then I register an existing user. So I'm going to create a test to show you how simple it is now. So I'm going to validate that when I've logged in, I'll bring the application up. When I've logged in, that if I log out, I'm on the home page. So I'm going to create a test ID. So NU, nFocus University, and I'm going to call it LO for log off and give it a number. And I'm going to give it a description. I can spell. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to put this little wizard on. So this assistant basically knows what subtest I've got within my Odin-Axe project and will help me to write my test. So I'm going to have the base state as restart home. I'm going to select the login link, which is on the home page. I'm then going to log in. So enter user data. And then I need a new test to validate that I've logged out. So on the home page, I am going to, and I've already created it. Sorry. So I'm going to call it select log off. Sorry, not select. Validate log off. And give it a description. And then, because it's Excel, I'm just going to copy the top test because I don't really need to write anything. I can copy and paste. So I just need to make sure that I obviously change it to what I want it to do. So I want to val that the login link is working, is there, sorry. So yep, save that. Go back in, put my assistant on, and now call that new test. Okay, save that, and then I'm going to build it. I've got an error. And it's telling me I haven't put a value in there. So put that in, save it, and build it again. And I get that. So I say that Odin-Axe is a framework. I think of it as a code generator, but not just a code generator, a document generator as well. So if I look at what's been generated behind the scenes, if I go to home and I look at documentation, I've actually now got a manual test plan that I could use. So I could actually now import this into TFS. So I could connect to my project. Excuse me. It's just connecting. And then I could import it. Then I've already got a user store. I've already got a PBI in here that says allows users to log out of the website. So I've already got a story for this. So what I can do is I can add my testing. So I just need to go back to Axe and I need to find my ID. And then I do a run, I find that and I add it. And there it is. So now I've got a manual test that I can validate that manually, because when I write a test as a tester, I shouldn't be running an automation script straight away. I should be validating that test actually works and I put a human eyeball on it and that everything that I'm expecting is working. Once I've done that, I would then automate it. So, but this test is automated because of this framework. So if I run this test, it's going to fire up the application, log in, and it's going to fail. Anyway, okay. So I know what you're going to ask now. You're going to ask, well, I could create my own framework, and you could, but the problem that I've seen when I've gone to clients is that companies write their own frameworks and they're very complicated, and the people who write that framework are the only people who know how to use it, and the end user is the tester. And the testers, some testers are technical, some aren't, but the problem is the end user. What we found with this framework is because it's Excel based, that as I said before, a non-technical tester can pick it up really easy. I said there's the 5 default actions out the box: get, set, val, load and save, and that's just the start. You can expand this and write your own custom functions, and not everything's going to work out the box. You're going to have a funky grid on a website that's not playing ball. So that requires somebody with a technical ability to write that custom function, or a technical tester to do that. So yeah, I mean, but what I'm trying to say is this tool will enable the tester to get like 90% automation. So in the world of, and I think we heard it earlier, in the world of DevOps and in the world of getting quicker and everything being automated, that there is a lot of pressure under for the tester to be under to get that to get that sprint commitment done, to do the testing, etc. And like I said before, automation is the key. So I know what you're going to say now is that's all very well, you're running that on your machine, but in a DevOps world, my environment's in Azure. I've got everything my application's being deployed to Azure. I want to run my tests in Azure. So you're running that on your machine. So, you know, how does it work in the DevOps world? So, and I think Richard touched on it earlier in his first presentation about release management. So, in here, Richard showed you this earlier. So I'm not going to go through it again. I'm just going to show you how those tests can be run in a release pipeline. So I've got a release pipeline here, and if I go into it, I'm going to kick this off, and then I'm going to tell you what it's doing in the background. So what it's doing in the background is it's going to spin up my machine in Azure. It's going to deploy the application, that nFocus University website, into Azure. It's going to copy my ODNX tests and deploy the test agent onto a client machine, and then it's going to run my tests. So, and then I've got as Richard had this morning, I've got two environments. So I've got system test and I've got live. So I've got a placeholder in here to stop when it gets to the end, and I can approve or reject it. And then if I approve it, it will go into live, and it will do the same, and it will deploy my application into the live environment and run the tests again. So if I go back into here, so this is running. Not very quickly. Just waiting for one of the build agents in Azure. Does anybody have any questions?
How do you know where you are in the test process? It just says in progress. How do you know how far along?
Where in progress?
So if you go back to the previous screen, it said how many test was in progress.
In here?
Well, yeah, you were,
Oh, in here. Sorry.
yeah.
So yeah. So that's the. If I go into logs, this is where I'm in the process. So these are all those. If I go back into here, these are all the steps that it's doing. So deploying, starting my Azure machine, deploying the application, etc., etc. So when I go back into the release and it says in progress, if I click logs, then I know how far down here it's done. So now it's deploying the app to the box, and then it's going to do the file copy. So the log is showing me where in the process it is until it gets to the end, or one of these fails, which it will stop at that point. It will not carry on. So, any other questions while this is running?
Can I just ask, when you're running the test, I noticed that on the Excel sheet it was using like the text to lock in on to find the component it was doing the automated testing on.
Yeah.
Does it recover from things like the name changing? Because locking in on the text, I've seen scripts where the documentation's got out of whack because someone's changed the name, or they moved the box or made it a different. It's thrown out automated testing. Does this do that, or will it recover from it? Like if you change the text?
So yes. So if I show you, that's a good point actually. So if something changes on the screen and say that course is changed to course, when I save that, that change is there because normal automation scripts, you store the code. This doesn't do that. It's the opposite. It's a code generator. So every time I build, I build a new script. So any changes that I make when I build it there and then. So, you know, the code's throwaway after the test has been run. I'm constantly running, regenerating that code.
What about changes on the GUI end done by the developers coming forward? Would that, in other words, if the developers change courses to course and then try to run, would the script realise that this has changed, or would it
No,
appear as well?
wouldn't you want the script to fail so that you know?
Yeah.
So what would happen is it would fail and it would give you a reason why it failed.
Right.
So let me run one of the other tests.
So effectively, any changes like that would just stop the test, and then, like you say, you'd have an item to change on the tests.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if I run this test, so this is the test that's running in my Azure environment, so it's validating that I can't register again. So if I view the result, I get these results. So these are all the subtests that I've linked together. So in here, if something failed, it would flag it in red. So and would show the. So here I'm validating that the text that I'm expecting is saying username Paul.greenhouse at nFocus is already taken. If somebody had changed that, the actual would actually, it would grab what the actual result value was and it would flag it. And also when it fails as well, it takes a screenshot. So I would have a screenshot attached to here. I've just made it super, everything's green, everything works. So yeah, so, but it does, it flags that. That's a good point actually. Yeah, so any other questions?
The results into TFS?
Yes, yes. So I could go into Axe, and here I could tell it what test plan I wanted to do it and what build I did it against, and it would update the test in TFS. Any other questions?
In your object map
Yes.
tab at the top, that one? No, there must be another one. The homepage. What generates?
Me. This is that you have to do this manually. This is not that. This is the thing that you have to do. So what I could do is if somebody added.
Process you have to do.
Yeah, but this is the manual bit you have to do. So you have to create the object map manually. So if I had a new, if there was a new field put on the homepage screen, I would do this, and let's say it's a HTML link. Guess the XPath. Don't really matter. Just put new whatever, new page, new field, whatever. As soon as I save that, if I go to the home page now, what I can do is I've got this Object Explorer, so these are all the objects that are in my Axe project. So I go to home page and you'll see this new page is there now. So what I can do, let's just make that go over a bit more, is I could drag that in. And then that's how quickly I can add my new field to a test. So that once you've created there is an initial effort to object map pages. The subtests you can generate. So I could go into here and I could let's generate the home page again. So I check that, check the top level object, check all its children and click generate, and it creates me a blank subtest. So the overhead really is the object mapping. But you know, you'd have to do that if you did that in an automation script. The beauty of this is it's in one place, and that if you know a particular screen's changed, you can then change it in one place. And when you know that any of your tests that use that object, when you build them, they're going to have that update. So all your tests are going to have that change, and your maintenance overhead on your automation script is low. So, and that test has passed in the lab, and it would have updated when it runs. The way I've set it up is when the automation runs in the pipeline, as I call it, it updates the TFS item. So in TFS it will be that. Going to test. It was that one. That's passed. So.
Do you have access to the generated sort of test that's created from the software? Do you have access?
Yes. Sorry. Yes. So behind the scenes, if I explore script, here's the code that's been generated in the background.
Can you specify which web drivers you want to run that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So at the moment, you see there's a run config here, and I've just set it to Chrome. But I could have Firefox, I could have Edge, I could have IE. The good thing about when you run it through Odin as well, when you run it through Axe, is once you've built the test, all you need to do is change the run config, and you can keep running it against all the different varying browsers. So you can do that. For this example, I've only done it against Chrome, but yeah, it will work on anything. So, any other questions?
Can you just go back to where it generated the written test script?
The code or the...
No, the script in English. So you said, so Axe generated those words itself?
Yes, so each of the actions, so the actions are defined by the class in the object map and the action that we use against it. So HTML link set will generate a certain code, and what it does is in the code there is a placeholder where we put those property values in. So that's how it generates it, and then it also adds there's also some documentation against that action as well. So when you click build, you get the documentation to do with that class and action, and you also get the code.
Essentially, that documentation is an audit trail of what the automated script is doing.
Yes. Yes, and I know clients that where where you're doing a solution for a customer, and they say, "Can we see your test plans?" I know clients that have sent the Axe documentation to the client saying, "This is the test we're doing." So, and it's you can export it to Word, and it will. When it opens, and there you go. So here's the this is paper trail for if you need to send it to a client. But we've also had on some client sites, we've had actually business users who've got no they know what kind of scenarios they want to test from a UAT point of view, and we've even had business users use Odin to write their UAT tests, and then we've put technical testers in with them to write the custom functions that they need. Obviously, they know what they want to test, and when they write stuff in Axe, there might be a part where they can't do that. So that's I say. most of the stuff you write in Axe will be 90% automated. You've just got to deal with those funky 10% things that happen in applications. Any more questions?
Does it only work for web?
No. So I said it works with, you can put it on top of QTP, you can put it on top of Coded UI, White. You just have to define how you start. So on some of the clients that we work with, we deal with a lot of WinForm apps. So instead of in the base state, we'll write something that fires up the application. So we'll do a start process, and it will fire up the exe. So you can replace that base state with a start process behind the scenes. So the base state is code. You could call it, fire app, and it would then behind the scenes fire up your executable. So it works with everything.
No ignorance, but does it work with mobile apps?
So what it does is you can use Selenium, and then you can use Appium on top. So it integrates with Appium. So you can generate the Selenium code and then fire it at an Appium server, and it will run your script. One of the clients that I work with, they use Axe for everything. So they use Axe for web, they use Axe for the WinForms application, they use Axe for mobile, APIs, database, SQL. It does it all, and it's all in the same framework. So that's quite a powerful message where, I've been to clients and they've got a framework for this application, a framework for this application, and they're all different. This is the same for everything. So, quite powerful. Any more questions?
If you were to do drag and drop from one area of the screen to the other, for me to validate that's working, I'd see that disappeared from there and appeared there.
Yep.
What sort of script is that going to look like?
What do you mean drag and drop?
Quite onerous. It doesn't do drag and drop.
What do you mean drag and drop as in what?
Well, if I drag an object from one area of the screen, so whether it's a list box or something like that, some sort of list, and I drop it into another area,
Yep.
then I've seen it's gone from the first area and it's appeared in the second area. I'm just wondering what the script would look like.
So you move the list box from one page to another.
No. I select an item.
Yep.
So you've got a list of items.
Yep.
So I select an item and I drag it to another area. So another list box, let's say. So I've got two lists.
Yep.
And I drag it from one list to another. I'm just wondering what the script's going to look like to test that.
I'm trying to figure out the context of why you're dragging a list from one to the other in terms of the UI.
Well, you've selected the drag and drop.
You'd write a drag and drop custom action. You'd call it drag and drop, and then behind the scenes you would write the code to drag it. So you would say, I want to drag this object from here to here. We've done that. We've done that with Selenium. We've done that with Coded UI, drag and drop stuff.
That would ensure that it would first list and
Yes.
it the second.
Yeah.
Because as a human thing, it's very easy
Yes.
to identify changes like that.
So what you could do is you could drag and drop it and validate that it was in the second list. Yes?
Right.
I think what I'm trying to say is that it's all code beyond the scenes. So if you want it, it's like I said, that 10%, that funky stuff, is that drag and drop, or I want to do something that's not going to be done out the box. Do you see what I mean? You're going to have to write some code to do that.
But that seems to be the context of modern apps is to have complex, diverse behaviours.
Yeah.
Whereas if we go back 20 years, clicking buttons
Yeah, I know.
would have been accepted.
I know. And then you get things that are dynamic, and you have to deal with them on the fly. You know what I mean? And then this model doesn't work. You know, or you have to be a bit clever because those don't exist. You know, and then you have to be clever about is there anything in in the technical properties of how it appears on the screen. Is there anything that I can grab that's the same for each, and then write something funky to work out which one, where it is on the screen? You know, a lot of things have, you know, numbers in them, 01, 02, 03, because that page can be, you know, dynamically created. So there's ways around things. Any more questions? No? Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Paul.